looking west on the other side of the parkway. I believe that you can see why it's called the Great Smoky Mountains. Hi folks, Cowboy here. I took a drive up into the mountains, brought my camping gear with me, you know, old style. Got my hammock in the Jeep there if I need it. Got my two-person tent in there if I need it. And I got my cot here. Now, depending on what the weather does, whether I break that tent out, whether I break that hammock out, or whether I take my rain fly made by Eno and hang it on that big old hickory tree there up to my Jeep, create myself a tent, just sleep out here under the clouds and the stars. Ain't nothing better. Can't call what I'm doing glamping. Yeah, I'm having some cowboy tea. So I drove up into the mountains and I got to thinking about the mountains, you know. Not going to be doing any cooking tonight. All I'm going to do is I stopped at a little place called Rabbit Town Cafe. I got myself a couple of cat head biscuits. Now you've seen me make some cat head biscuits before, you know. They're about that big if you can see that. You know, about like that. See there? Now I'm going to cut me a couple tomatoes, a couple slices, big slices of tomatoes, going to put on that biscuit. And I'm going to have cat head tomato biscuit, some cowboy tea for dinner. Now mountains are a very unique creation. Geologist says that a landscape that rises up to 1,000 feet and above is considered a mountain. Now here in this eastern part of the United States, there's lots of little mountains and peaks, and when you have lots of mountains and peaks, it's called a range. Well, this range that we're in is called the Appalachian Range. And of course, if you go out west in America, you find the Rockies, the Sierra Nevada range, the Alaskan range, and then there's some Canadian ranges. I mean, I was doing a little research on mountains and I did not believe some of the research I found. Do you know that in North America, there are 390 peaks above 14,000 feet. That is pretty impressive. Now, the highest peak in North America, of course, as you all know, is now the new name Denali, which used to be called Mount McKinley. And, you know, that rises up to, I believe, it's about 20,000 plus feet, 21,000. Now, there's lots of other peaks in America. I mean, for instance, you got Pikes Peak, which I thought was one of the tallest, but it's not. It's way down, probably 20 or 30 down the line, and it's 14,000. Then you got Estes Park, which there's a mountain range, a peak up there. And the Estes Park happens to have the highest paved road in the world, and it's 14,000 feet. So, you know, mountains are amazing. They're beautiful to look at, and they're all different. Now, in here in the southeast part of America, we have, of course, I told you, the Appalachians. And I found out some interesting facts about that. Number one, I don't know if you know this, but I'm going to ask you a question. Of course, I'm going to give you the answer. But the highest peak east of the Rockies is Mount Mitchell. Found in where? North Carolina. Just off the Blue Ridge Parkway. And it's 6,700 and some odd feet. We're going to get into exacts. If you want to know that, you can look it up. But what I didn't know about that was that the second highest peak east of the Rockies is also in Mount Mitchell State Park, Mount Craig. I did not know that. So, you know, I got to thinking, well, what's the highest mountain in Georgia? Or should I say, the highest peak in Georgia? And for those of you that may live in Georgia, in this area, know that that's called Brasstown Bald. And that is 4,780 some feet. Now, the highest peak in Tennessee is what used to be called, which is, the name is getting ready to be changed, Clingman's Dome in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. Clingman's Dome is 6,700 and a few feet. The new name that the Cherokee Nation voted on is going to be Kiowa. Kiowa. That's a very unique name. And when I was looking at that, you know, I thought about that name. That's pretty good. But in the world, there's two other mountains that really stand out. And most of us think, okay, yes, Mount Everest, 29,000 some feet in Asia, in the Himalayas, of course. But there is another mountain. If you measured its entire height, you would find out that it is 33,000 and few odd feet. Of course, that's Mauna Kea. And of course, that's out in the Pacific Ocean. Only 13,000 feet of the actual landmass is above water. That's pretty impressive. And as I told you, mountains are very, very unique. The naming of the mountains. A lot of the mountains were named after famous people. For instance, Clingman's Dome was named after a general whose last name happened to be Klingsman. Mount McKinley, you know, and the list goes on. But you know, it's wonderful to be able to be out in the open, and see all these magnificent uprisings out of the earth. They're beautiful, and I would impress upon you to get out and enjoy nature. Now, I've told you the highest peak in Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, and the eastern part of the United States. So there's a couple other. What's the highest peak in Alabama, for instance? Well, for those that you know, it's called Cheaha. That peak is only at right around 2,000 feet. But Alabama's pretty flat, and when you see that little peak, you think, man, that's pretty high. But of course, you got to take in the surroundings. So what I would ask you to do, if you haven't had the ability to go out, take a trip up into the mountains, go hike up to some of these summits. In this area where I'm camping tonight, there's a mountain called Bell Mountain. I've heard about Bell Mountain since my mother and father-in-law used to come up here to the Georgia Mountain Fairgrounds to the festival and listen to all the mountain music. Some good times up here. My two girls, you know, the first 5 to 10 years of their life, they spent a week or so up here, you know, listening to this great country music. And bluegrass music, by the way. If you didn't know that, originated, yep, you got it, in the Appalachians. But after doing some research on this Bell Mountain, I found some interesting facts about it. It's 3,000 and I think 400 feet, something of that sort. I drove up there today. Yep, I've been to Bell Mountain. But what I wanted to know is how it came about its name. Well, it happened so that a fellow by the name of Tiller bought that mountain, donated it to Towns County in Hiawassee, Georgia. And now, of course, it's a park. But before that, it belonged to the Cherokee Indians. And it was known as Bell Mountain then. And that was back in the 1830s. Earlier, before 1830. And about that time, the Trail of Tears, Andrew Jackson, I believe it was, forced the Cherokee to move out west. And when they did, there was a lottery for the land that was owned by the Cherokee. And there was a fellow, I believe by the last name of Marshall, that won the lottery for Bell Mountain. Well, in my other research about Bell Mountain, I happened to find out there was a mountain called Eagle Mountain, not too far from there. And as I was still looking, I found out that that range through there was actually called the Southern Nantahala Wilderness. I didn't know we had a wilderness in Georgia. Well, I do now. So, it's very interesting to get into looking at these names, these mountains that are here in the Appalachians. And I would invite you to get out and explore those. So, it's about time. Yep, you got it. I'm hungry. I'm going to go fix that tomato biscuit. Well, I'm going to enjoy it. I hope you enjoy a good dinner too. Here's to you with a good cup of Cowboy tea. So, as usual, I'll see you on down the trail. That is, if I can get the thing to stop.